Hmm? Who? Moses?
Moses, connect to me. Which one will be? Maybe it has some.
No, you can use mine.
This one. Which one, sir?
Huh?
Which one? Yeah. Yes. This will be. Is it matoke salad?
Huh?
Matoke salad.
Matoke what?
Salad.
They are all the four pages.
Yeah, let me see.
Put them. They are all this. This is the presentation.
Mr. Chairman, as a result of
Thank you.
Me.
I think so, please.
Expired.
Bring your copy. Facebook or something. But, okay, that's different.
So where are we playing from?
No, you put yours and then you put here. Yeah. Yeah, it was sanitized. Yeah, go to there. Yeah. Microphone. Yeah.
So how many viewerships already?
Not yet. You haven't yet started.
Okay, I thought people should be already in there.
Hey, this thing is playing.
No, no.
But the screen is not.
Which one? Which one? It's what you're doing there. Yeah, good. That is that. It is the background. Okay.
That's not for the capacity. The second capacity.
Next, okay, you can
No,
have
please,
it.
because I have a sitter.
I know you keep on moving, so we shall keep following you.
We are playing the videos from
We tested the video. Just the video.
William is going to play them here.
Yeah.
William is going to play them for him. Then for me, I'll play for the audience.
The volume.
You can get it. Can they get it?
It's playing, but no sound.
Hmm?
It's playing, but no sound.
Yes. Because
It's already played. Let's play the second.
this one.
The sound is refusing.
No, we're using two different ones. Now this one will click for your, then whatever will click here, and what will do so you is what will go to the online audience.
No, my worry is the sound.
The
of
sound.
video, since it is not canned.
I get it.
So plan C would be to let the laptop play it, put a microphone. Yeah.
See how the machine is doing. So I thought I should come back and see what's happening to this food also. I've interrupted my work. I have to
So now,
They're picking
I was
from
telling
here.
you where to do some useful work. Now I put in the use of commerce.
ngate tulina wali mukunzi.
On the other
Commerce
then you know,
in related situation. And he explained to me
That they doing that
because
I think that follow here together for
2.
1, 2. One, two. 1, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for starting a bit late. Right away.
As far as me is concerned, if we give you 10,
Code, yeah?
you are supposed to come and account to us how you're using the money. In any institution, whether it is even in your family, but not so with the social communities in our country. You give somebody
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We apologize for starting a bit late. I call upon all those still yet to join us. Please feel free to come and join us. Today we are having our 15th Ideological Clinic. Due to public demand, this has never happened. With us, we have our Director of Finance and Administration. Madam Director, this is the first time it's happening in history of the clinics of the ideological NRM orientation. We have never had a guest speaker coming back the second time. And due to public demand, the guest speaker was on market, and the public was like, you know what, we need to have him back. We need to have him back. So our brothers and sisters online, we pass you records all the way from plot 10, head on the road. We love you so much as NRM, and happy Liberation Day to all the NRM brothers and all our families. Thank you very much. I'm Don Vincent Buana, and I'm humbled to be before you today. I'm head of protocol, NRM Secretariat, and the captain of the clinics. Madam Director, at this juncture, allow me to welcome you, our dear Mama. With you, everything is sorted. To come and welcome our guest speaker of today. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's welcome none other than Hadith Madina. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vincent. Our moderator of the day. Today we are yet again for another interesting session with the NRM Ideological Clinic. And we have a special guest. As the earlier communicator told us that when he came and shared with us last week, there was actually a public demand for him to come back and give us more knowledge, give us more enlightenment, enlighten us more, and also share with us the history, the successes, the NRM, and how we can triumph the challenges. We yet again have our presenter of the day, for those who have joined us today, is Tony Geoffrey Owana. I usually call him Owanapedia. I used to think the Owanapedia was part of the name. So we are so grateful to have you here today to deliberate on a very important topic, that is bridging the gap between the old and the new. Bridging the gap between the old and the new, combating misinformation, disinformation, and negative propaganda against the NRM. So I don't want to go much into the topic. I know he has prepared a lot to share, but briefly I wanted to recognize the presence of our online listeners and our viewers and listeners here present. Our technical team, as always, you've done us a wonderful job. Briefly about Mr. Owana Tony. He is a journalist. For the past 36 years, he has worked closely with our liberator, the father of the NRM revolution, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Tony is also a presidential advisor to the NRA. When we talk about the NRA, and for us who are now the NRM, we don't usually put a clear distinction. I think through the sharing here today, you'll be able to highlight what distinguishes the NRA and the NRM, because when the topic talks about the old and the new, is the old the NRA and the new is the NRA? NRM, I don't know. You will tell us more. He's also the CEO of Owanapedia. For those of us who usually go to YouTube, I think you've checked those beautiful revolutionary songs, the history of Uganda as narrated by the people then and even now. And I have always gotten it from Owanapedia. I don't know where else we can get that beautiful history, but so far, thank you so much. So he's the CEO of that YouTube channel. He's also a TV producer, for the Vision Group, a TV producer for the Vision Group. He's a panelist on the Omugundu at Impact FM and Star FM, and also Metro for those of us who listen to some of the political talk shows on those radios. He's an editor of various publications of NALI. NALI is the National Leadership Institute, Champanzi. So many of the publications from that institute are edited by him. And he's a life contributor to the Taresita magazine. I think today there was a launch of Taresita, and briefly you would also help maybe highlight and share with us what that day means, what it's all about, because many of us here Taresita, the new may not understand what that is all about. He's also a patron of UB40. You've heard of UB40, NRM Patriots. He is a transformed Christian, happily married to Victoria, with evidence, with five adult children. The other week when we were here, one of our vibrant mobilizers, supporters, and a member of the chapters of NRM in one of the institutions of learning, that is Good University, introduced herself as single, very single and searching. So as far as Geoffrey Owana is concerned, he's married. So today, if there's another person who is very single, we have some single people there. One is even smiling already. Bali, are you on the market? Yes. So thank you so much. I think we have wasted a bit of time because of technical glitches here, but I don't want to waste much more time. I would want us to go straight to our topic and hear from our presenter of the day, Geoffrey Tony. Once again, the topic is bridging the gap between the old and the new and combating misinformation, disinformation, negative propaganda against the NRM. I think as a cadre as a mobilizer, as somebody who loves the NRM party. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation we have now in the media that many of us find challenges combating. So this topic is of interest to me as a person, but also to the NRM people. So we are really, really very grateful to the Right Honorable Secretary General United NRM, Richard Tudong, for this initiative that every week we yet again come together and listen to knowledgeable, senior, experienced leaders of the party at various levels that come and share with the young people, the old people, the much that we needed to hear for the betterment of our generation. Thank you so much, Mr. Mr. Owana Geoffrey. You're most welcome. Please.
Good afternoon, comrades. Like we did last time, and of course, for those who are not around, I requested that since I'm a good distance away from you, to hold the referendum here, you allow me to remove my mask. Then I said, the eyes have it. So I removed my mask democratically. Madam Director, and so you, Secretary General. I would say I'm overwhelmed, but I'm short of words what you said, that it has never happened for someone to be invited here a second time. Very grateful because the audience we have here, I'm not capable of seeing the audience that is in the other witchcraft mode, sorry, I mean the technology mode. I can't see them, but the audience I'm seeing here is very young people who are here tired of Wasei and other things. But if they voted in a referendum and said I should come back, I'm very grateful. And I'll come back. There are also people in the diaspora following us are here. And I'm sure they want to see my white head. Yet I'm putting on a cape marked UB40, which I will now press aside here. Madam, UB40 is an organization of young people who I have been trying to mentor. Some of them are here. This occasion, maybe they should just stand up for recognition. Just stand up. I have been giving them a lot of the stuff that has caused me to be invited here a second time. And they are very good consumers of this stuff. They are NRM. They get the kind of challenges which all these young people here get, including those I mentioned last time, being accused of being privileged and eating and what and so many other things. And usually they are not equipped with the weapons and the capacity to fire back. But as long as we are around here, we are going to equip them. I want us to develop a force, because this war is not going to be with guns. Guns are for police. We are going to use brains and computer, because that's where the current war is, especially the war on misinformation, disinformation, lying. We are not going to shoot liars, are we? We are not going to shoot liars. So we shall have to live with them and see what happens. So may I have my PowerPoint? Let's see what to do. Madam Finance, like I said last time, for those who are not here with us, Wanapedia is a two-man unit in which I'm the commanding officer, and that young man without a chair, Herbert Semiano, is the twice, and also the rest of the unit. We are only two. So that is Herbert Semiano, whose father is the late Samuel Matovu, who was one of our NRI soldiers. I want to tell you a little about myself, young people. Are you ready for it? You are ready? It isn't very nice, but you get ready. Tighten your seatbelts. Part of my CV says I am a transformed Christian, happily married to Victoria with evidence of 5 adult children. I may have wanted to add, but it is not possible. I was about to ask how many of you drink and smoke, but I won't ask because the answer won't help. I also never used to raise my hand when we were asked, so I won't ask it. I'll read. But you have at least one friend who drinks and smokes, isn't it? Let's not mention names. So, young people, I began smoking recently in 1977. Yes, when I went to S1 at St. Mary's College. I thought it was very swaggerific to smoke. And I smoked for 27 years, I think. Yes, I smoked for 27 years. And my favorite brand was Sportsman. I made a simple calculation and I discovered that if I add 1 stick to the other of the cigarettes I smoked, because I was doing about 10 cigarettes a day, I calculated that if I join my cigarettes, they will come from Kampala to Uganda. Isn't it about 80 miles? Yes, stick after stick to Uganda. I also began drinking Rudwaraji in around 1979 when I was in S3 at Namasagari College. And I think in 79 I wasn't drinking very well, but in 1980 I graduated in the drinking circles. Are there lawyers here? A lawyer? Or someone reading law? Oh, in 1981 I was called to the bar. I mean the drinking bar. Because now that's when I was now a real boozer. Now you young people, I was enjoying a brand called Kasese. Kasese was, the measurements were a beer bottle the size of our beer bottle. I think I was doing about half a liter per day of Kasese, and I was tough. Not many people saw me drunk, but many people saw me drinking. Now, at half a liter per day, you do 365 half liters per year. If you convert to liters, it's about 180 liters, which is about 20 liters should of a drum per year. So I can round off to the nearest drum and say, every year I was taking 1 gram of cassis, which I did for 25 years, which is 25 grams. I hear a million of cassis is about 5,000 shillings. You can calculate how much money I spent on injuring my liver and injuring my lungs. In 2003, God visited me with tuberculosis. Then I had a dose of pneumonia. Then I had a motor accident where one of the handlebars of my motorcycle pierced my lung. So I had 3 injuries. And I came very close to dying. When I went to hospital for a TB test, they said are there medics here? Medics? Medic. You know, sputum test. So when they asked for a sputum test, I said, these people might discover that I have TB. So I put saliva. When they checked saliva, I was okay. That's how foolish you can be. I was that foolish. So the test showed I was not having TB, but I was looking like TB. A photocopy of TB. I'm not a fat man, but I was about a quarter of what I am now. Happily married to Victoria, a priest of the Church of Uganda. Oh yes, that woman is tough. She lived with my cigarettes and the cassettes for all those years. You are clapping. So, where is the medic? Where is our medic? You know Dr. Myers Lugema of Malaria Consortium? It is Myers Lugema who treated me at Bravo Hospital. The one you abuse, that there is nothing there, there's no one. That's where I cured my TB from. Now, Myers told me that he knew me personally, and he knew my habits. So he said, brother, is it possible for you to quite your process a little, but cigarettes, you leave? Because he knew I could not leave cigarettes. But he demonstrated for me what my lungs had become by saying, do you have a box of matches? I had as a smoke. So I gave him. Then he lit a match and put it under a polythene bag. You know what happens to that polythene bag when it is melting? He told me, your left lung is like that. Can you leave cigarettes? I said, yes, I have left. Are you sure? I said, I'm not sure, but I'm going to ask God. I was a clever man in those days. I even used to reason with God. I'll tell you what do you want with me? There are thieves all over the place. I want to drink my cassettes. What's your problem? You God. But when I was dying, I got time to talk to God. Don't reach that stage, comrades. I was actually dying. I used to hear my children praying for me that I shouldn't die quickly, postpone the and I think God heard them. So I asked God to give me only 5 years to reconcile myself with my family. That is 2014, 2004.
How many years?
2004 to the present, 18 years. So instead of 5, I have got 18 years. That's when I surrendered to God with all my business. And that is why I'm here. Let me assure you that before 2004, there is no leader in NRM, in NRA, in UPDF who would invite me to address you. Why? I had brains. But how would I appear before important people like you, looking like says, why don't you clap for me? Now, how much is a bottle of Nile Special? Who might know? 3.5. Do we have an engineer here in construction? Someone in construction? Huh? Someone in construction? Yeah. Well, you might know. How much is a brick? A baked brick, the ones we build with? 200 shillings. So how many bricks are in a bottle of beer? Let's calculate very quickly. 16 bricks in a Nile special. So how many bricks can build a small 3-room house? About 4,000? 3,000? So now, if you are drinking 365 Nile specials per year, how many bricks have you drunk, and therefore how many houses? When you are a tenant, so I am not preventing you from drinking, because even the economy, they keep saying his booze has not started again, and they were free the other day. But I warn you, when booze and cigarettes begin damaging your prospects, your status, your life, social drinkers are free. But we who are like alcoholics, please forget. I drank with very powerful people, but my group is all gone now. Brigadier Mayongo is not here. Shaban Bantaresa left me recently. Major Ndoga is not here. Sime Shege is not here. Yeah, and now we are doing other things. So I wanted to bore you with a little of my history so that you might, when you go out there to celebrate with the booze and what, go slow. Let the booze not take you over. You rule it and you okay. I always emphasize this to the youth before this, that don't experiment with what we wait for. That is that. So now, let me have the next slide. Okay, we are going to bridge the gap now. So we are saying, yes, I might be using very strong words, but we bear with them. So I'm looking at enemy tactics and strategies. Remember, we are dealing with misinformation, disinformation. I call it lying. Because you will discover in the course of our battles in the media that our problem is not just the blunders which government makes, but it is also things which government has not done, which appear in the media as having been done by government or your party. And then you also get the impression that, let me go slow, maybe these people did it. Have you never felt like that? Now, as cadres, that's a very dangerous position to be in, because it means you don't know. You don't know whether it happened. You even know some of your leaders who might do such things. But now here you are. You must defend the party. You know, my definition of patriotism is very bad. And it is very simple. For me, patriotism is simply 2 words: unconditional love. Okay? When my children were seeing their father being ruined by drink, I think they didn't like me. But they had no other father. Okay? You cannot put a condition on your parent that until you stop drinking, he won't be my father. No way. You understand me? So when you are faced with the issue of criminals in our government, or people who make mistakes, don't allow anyone to force you into a situation of thinking there is an alternative. This is the one you have, and it is the one you have to correct. So my wife, being a priest, she would always come and whisper outside in my drinking place, you know? And many times I would agree, but a few times, of course, I would refuse, because even the caboose was also sweet. My children would not want me to go to their school. They were at Shimon. Because I was looking, they would rather have another father, but I was the one. So you can't afford to get tired of Uganda. You don't have another one. And therefore, when you are in the national resistance movement, with all its successes and failures, you are part and parcel of them. You have no escape route. You can run away if you wish, because it is not a prison. But as long as you feel that the wrong that has been done is an individual act and not a party position, then you stay and defend the party. It is painful, especially when you realize that the mistake that has been made is giving opportunity to the other side. Yet here you are really dying in the Andachis. They are fighting to defend something maybe when you are not even sure. We have all been in those situations. Okay? So let's get prepared for them and become soldiers in that department of defending the NRM. Not from things that we have done wrong, but from things that we are being wrongly accused of. So they include misquoting NRM leaders, distorting historical facts, or telling outright lies about Uganda and NRM. Adults are telling their children funny stories about Uganda, very funny stories. If you have a parent from the other side, you might hear the strangest things when you compare them with things some of us might tell you. Now, there is also this feeling that your government has been too long in power. What is too long? Then you start also feeling guilty, but I think they should have left there that I really. But he didn't leave. So now what is the position? Is the NRM advantage in a shorter stay in power or a longer one? Answer me. Are you ashamed of the answer? Is the NRM's advantage in being in power a short time or a longer one? How are you going to sustain it? Because for us, we are going. Are you aware we are going? Get ready. Take over. I told you the other day, don't overtake. Just get ready to take over because we are going. We have prepared you. I'm very proud of those UB40s. I see them, I follow them when they are defending with facts, not noise. Comrades, don't use noise. You cannot manage the opposition in noise. Have you agreed with that? They really know noise. Yeah? They can overwhelm you with the noise. But when you have facts, you see them retreating very quickly. Madam Finance, I already joined Twitter. It is this one who forced me. I didn't like those things because young, born before computers. I didn't want to go there. But then that's where the battle is. Short of waiting for someone who has insulted you, and you wait somewhere and shoot them with a gun. Then the battle isn't now those things which you do like. What are those? Smartphones. Okay, I wish everybody who has a smartphone will become smart, but it is not like the phone can't make you smart. In fact, it has become an opportunity for unsmartness to be broadcast freely. But now, students, technology has brought it and we are not going back. So, they are now putting you in a situation where you should make a distinction. I hear this from opposition circles, that you see, these people have fused the party with the government. Have you heard that? Who told you that you must separate the party from the government when it is the party which won? Have you also heard that argument being floated very cleverly, by the way? I'm telling you, don't accept it. This government here is called the NRM government of Uganda. When Chagulanyi defeats us all, basically, it will become the new government of Uganda. Okay? There is no question of government being something separate from the people who looked for the votes and voted them. No way. Okay? So don't become apologetic about being 36 years in power. Our first national chairman, Professor Ule, is the shortest reigning president probably on earth. He was in power for 68 days. Should we clap for that? Yeah. Eh? Is that something worth clapping for? So we are now compensating for our first national chairman, and now we buried him yesterday, but one in 1987, where he's resting in peace. We have done 36 years, and the leaders will go. But you should make sure you keep the NRM in power. Yes, the time of violence ended. Now you are using brains. That's why I fear you guys. So there's no question of someone making you feel guilty or apologetic or what for being in power for 36 years. Because those years, the first 10, let me tell you this, the first 4 years were because we had captured power. And we said in 1990, we are going to have elections and handover. In 1990, the parliament sat and said there is unfinished business, including making a new constitution. Our national political commissar, who was also Minister of State in the office of the President, presented our case to Parliament very well. He was called Dr. Kizaris. With the result that Parliament said NRM should do another 4 years, which we did, another 4. Now, in 94 is when the process of making a constitution started. When that was done, we held elections in 96. And from that time, the president of Uganda has been winning. They say, how do they say? Nera, nera, nera. Something like that. So we have been elected so many times, not clinging to power. The voters have decided several times to keep us, and that is nothing to apologize about. No, because even other candidates have been contesting so many times. Why are they also not blamed for losing many times? So this one is a democratic process. There is no reversal. Now we have shortcomings in the NRM. You agree? One of the things that we must not do is to allow our in-house matters to be discussed outside. If you identify a mistake in the NRM, that's what the original NRM was. But now, madam, we have changed. I see some people creating a scenario where people can only talk about them chili chili. In the NRM, it was open. In the NRA, it was even more open. I'll give you 2 stories. There was a report in the army that the commanders, including Semianu's father, they suffered in northern Uganda there because they were hunting rebels. But some of their commanders would make them carry jerrycans of waraji belonging to the commander. And then when they come, the commander sells the booze to the soldiers. Now you are holding a jerrycan of waraji, you are having a light machine gun, you are having what? It became a nightmare. But when the chief of staff heard about it, the late Brigadier Chief Ali, he visited each unit separately and said, Askar, just tell us what you know. So people are saying, Afande, this one here makes us carry this. It solved so many things you can't believe it. But now as we get more professional, I see some people starting to hide, to backbite, and that's where intrigue starts. You agree? But I want to point out some basic errors that are in NRM. Is the Secretary General monitoring us? Okay, because I don't want to backbite him. If he's monitoring, very good. And now you are here. There is an apparent disconnect between NRM Secretariat and the NRM government. And that one, ladies and gentlemen, is going to kill us. It comes from the other theory being floated that you should separate the two. That your job as NRM is to win elections and then you hand over power to the civil service. Hello. The problem came from our history. We come from the bush with our army, the National Resistance Army. And I say this deliberately, our army, because there were other armies. Huh? There were other armies. Get me that picture of Kenyan troops.
The same slide.
Somewhere in the slide. You should be there. That one. Who can read for me? Go back. Go back. That one. UB40, what does it say? Now, that is 1st January 1986. Very good. Now, we are here going to Somalia. UPDF is taking a piece to Somalia. In 1986, international armies were coming here to force peace on Uganda here. I hope all of you know that. Do you know it? Do you know it? Who knows it? Let me see a hand. Very good. Between 1985 and 1986, January, Uganda was in the state in which Somalia is. And a peacekeeping force had been set up to come here and sort us out. We had a government that was composed of 6 different armies. Okay? The 7th army being NRA in the bush with Museveni. And he was fighting in Kampala. Every army having a part of the capital city which it controls, then they meet somewhere and fight each other. They are in the same government. It was that serious. Okay? So when you say more Kenyan troops arrived, they were coming to disarm us and force us to respect peace by force. Okay? Then you read that again. Kairia vows to clean Kampala South. Dr. Kaira had his army, Uganda Freedom Army. It had taken the area of Kabalagala, Kansanga, Gaba. And other parts of Kampala we are not easy. But there was more peace in Kaira's area than in any other part of Kampala City. So that's how we had divided. We were in that condition in January 1986, and we were coming to disarm us. So when Yoweri and his troops marched in on 25th, it ended that business permanently. And all those armies are now in the UPDF. Why don't you clap for that? So let's go back to my slide. Yeah, that's like which was next. So I was telling you that the NRA was what we call our army. Now, when it becomes the national army, it was no longer the army of a group called the NRA. And indeed, it was no longer composed of people called the NRA. All these other armies were here. General Moses Ali had come back, had a large army, it was part of NRA now. So it could not be the army of the rebel group. So when it became the national army, we lost all those cadres to the government. Now they had to be impartial, meaning they could only support the NRA either illegally or quietly. All those wonderful cadres of ours in the General Masco, they became public servants. And we could not also factor in the way that transition was to be handled. So what was now the difference between the government and the secretariat? It became very tricky. And all of them were now in government, in what those vehicles. So the party, the secretariat now receded into the background, but not immediately. Madam, there was a time when the government was in the hands of NRM secretariat. And there is no director of NRM secretariat who would want to be a minister at that time. Why? Because the minister's cabinet was getting its orders from NRM secretariat. As far as I'm concerned today, I think cabinet can decide what NRM secretariat will do. I think that's not the way to run it, but Mzee has his strategy of keeping the country together. That's also very important. But as far as party building is concerned, the government must get its directives from the party, not vice versa. Okay? And one of the problems that have come from it is this disconnect. You see, we talk of cadre identification, cadre emplacement, because we are dealing with the issue broadly and not from here at broad temperature. Now, the other day I warned you about Christianity. I asked you people here, I asked the simple question and I'll ask it again. Was Jesus a Christian? Okay. Someone here was saying Jesus was a Christian. He wasn't, because he could not have been his own follower. Okay. But when Jesus went, that is when the Paulos, those were the pioneer Christians. Now you members, and those here and those in the diaspora, those who are on our Zoom, when the founder members of NRM go away, that's when you are going now to create the other NRM, which is what you are all cherishing. But even when you go that direction, you must make sure you don't fall into the mistakes which past governments fell in, of when the party branch becomes the government. It can also be very dangerous. Without control, power can be very dangerous. Some of our best cadres, and I can say this openly, some of our most dedicated cadres include Ajabdan Chita. But there came a point at which he could not control the authority he was enjoying, and he ended up in a mistake. You understand? So when you are a leader of an NRM branch and you have some powers that you can exercise, be very careful with that power. Very careful. It can burn you. And for us, we lived during that period when party branches became dictatorships at the lowest levels. We must not go back to that. At the same time, every NRM must monitor government activities at the grassroots. How are we going to do this? Now, I also don't have an answer. But these are questions we must begin asking. Which leads me to the second question. Madam Finance, the NRM must learn to distinguish between the political cake and the national cake. I think my young people may not understand. When we go into an election and win an election, the election has been won by NRM. Isn't it? Now, when it comes to national cake, the national cake belongs to all Ugandans because they are Ugandans. And the national cake is about government services, roads, hospitals, drugs, bridges, name it. Okay? They are entitled to the national cake because they are Ugandans. But the political cake belongs to the winners. Understand? Now, in Uganda, there comes a situation where we don't understand whether we really won. Because you end up seeing someone from who should be only enjoying the national cake is also eating the political cake. That one is very painful. Don't you agree? You can identify someone and say, but this one, this one. But then it comes from not distinguishing between the national cake and the political cake. The political cake belongs to the winners. The day FDC or NOP defeats you, don't expect to be in a government position. Don't. Okay? Because they will be enjoying their political cake. But while building roads in your area, as they must do. But in the NRM, it seems the two, don't you agree with me? So when you people take charge of this country as Christian cadres of the future, make sure you maintain that distinction without disturbing the country. Mzee has kept this country together because of that, of making that Germany. That's how this country has maintained stability. This one. There's a time when we had 98 ministers. Why? Because most of them had small armies which had to be accommodated for peace. So these sizes are not merely for games. They are not for games. But as we progress, the NRM must reach a point at which it is not mere numbers now. There's a principle of organization called, what is it covered? All organization is based on the principle of explosion. Where is my lawyer? Counsel. Where is the counsel? I am a second year law school drop-in. Who is laughing? Yes, I dropped into second year. That's when I left. I don't want to describe myself as improper. Because I'm much better than the others here who already know this camera. This side, I'm not ordinary like most of you. Isn't it, class? So I'm a second year dropping. But I cannot be a member of Uganda Law Society because I'm not a lawyer. Okay? If Uganda Law Society begins allowing the Kabila people, the drivers to become members just because they are also around, that's the source of trouble. So NRM must reach a point where numbers are not just what is required, but to define an NRM person with a set of ideas. If you don't fit into this, you are not a member. Okay? But now we are still dealing in numbers and numbers and numbers, and that's why we end up with people who are not like us, and we end up in some trouble. Don't we have trouble? You see these flag bearers coming around here during the nomination and what they come here, make a lot of promises here. Once they win, once they win, that's the end. Okay. I remember I warned my youth before that. You have candidates, but if you see they no longer have time for you, don't be surprised. When didn't I warn you? Are you not seeing it? Yes, it is not because they don't like you, but they were elevated to another status. And that's why my advice to them was, make sure you remit some money to the youth organization. You may not go there, but keep that organization running. I don't know whether they abided by my advice. If they have it, they will come back during the next elections and maybe you will allow them back. Hey. So there must come a time when it is not just numbers, but you say, this one cannot be. And you stop there. Otherwise, we end up with what is called the Tower of what? The Tower of Babel, where everybody is a member and therefore no one is a member. So, self-criticism within the ranks is very important. If you don't do it, someone will do it outside and you will see how damaging it can be. Let me see my next slide and see what is there. I think we can share some examples of people. Are you drinking? I think I should drink some. I think we could use some examples of. I told you, comrades, I want you to become a man of information. Your opponents cannot stand facts. They were predicting that I would run away from Twitter. But they said how many days? They gave me 60 days to run away from Twitter that they would overwhelm me. They only have insults. Muzei, you have bread. I have it. Muzei, you are old. Yes. How can that be a discussion? Should I now argue that I'm young or what? So they are really not very equipped also. But when they begin abusing, someone recently described me as what? Some biological word which I would mention. Something to do with anatomy. But I'm not a doctor. and he was also thinking he was making a presentation. He said, okay, I have accepted that title. Next. And there's no next. So I have bombarded them. And who is on Twitter? I think I'm a very great soldier on Twitter. Yeah? Why don't you clap for me? Yes. So let's deal with some of the stories. And comrades, if you see one raise something as I was going to say as I talk, you can raise it and we exchange. The latest story now circulating in the Kampala and Uganda and the world is about private major Magambo, isn't it? Everyone is on Magambo. How can a private be? What? Now, are you responding to it? You are probably not, because you don't have information. Madam, if we don't equip these soldiers with the tools, they will not fight. They will not fight. They will not fight. If they go fight, they will be defeated. And then we have casualties. So Magambo was promoted from private to major and appointed to CID, and it is now talk of the town. The promotion from private to major. Is anyone of them discussing Magambo's CV? I want to thank Comrade Romshana, whom I many times disagree with. He was, I saw him on TV explaining what he knew about Magambo as a person, as an expert in intelligence analysis. Because the interest in his rank from private to major. How can that be? Now, some liars, they are saying that the only other person who was promoted like that was Amin. Is that true? No. No, and they think they are defending Amin. No, no. Magambo has made history by being promoted from private to major. That is history. It is history. Now, unless you ask the commander-in-chief for details, he will not give you, because for him, he only wants Magambo to do his job. Now, Magambo is an expert in intelligence. But when he's meeting other officers who are in intelligence at the strategic level, he cannot be a private. He doesn't fit in. My friend, Dr. Johnson Byabashija, Uganda's chief jail, became a canon in the Church of Uganda. He's not a priest, but because of his services to the church and his status in society, they say if this one is to sit among us giving advice, you should have a commensurate rank of canon. That is a canon in the church as the imprisoned also. Okay. I think Afande Mbabas is also a canon, or his wife. Yeah. So ranks are commensurate with duty. Ranks have nothing to do with your efficiency. No, they are administrative. Learn that. Okay? You cannot, that's why I called for the promotion of Major Jessica Luko. Yes, this is the third time I'm calling for the promotion of Vice President Major Jessica Luko. Why? Because one time she ends up chairing a meeting of generals when Muse is not around. She will be a major. So to ensure that one, you make her have a budget. Colonel, and I'm proposing it again for here. To promote her on the rest, I think, on the rest. So that not because she's a great soldier, no, but she's like deputy commander in chief, isn't it? That is all. Do not disturb yourself with other things. Now, in intelligence, I'm giving you answers to you with these people making noise. If they go back in our intelligence organs here in Uganda, the person, we had a director called Ronnie Valley. Ronnie Valley was director general of ISO some years back. But Valia and his other directors in ISO had been lieutenants forever. So when Valia was promoted from lieutenant, he was promoted to colonel, from lieutenant to colonel. How many did he jump? Captain, major, lieutenant, colonel. 3 became a colonel. A year later, he was brigadier. Now, the person he replaced, Dr. Amos Mukomi, who was a lieutenant as director general. It had nothing at all as an effect on intelligence gathering, the rank. But when you now come this way in general meetings and what, you find that you rather look a bit different. You can go to intelligence and find very powerful people who are sergeants, because they are not commanding units going into action. So they don't need. Now, the president has it. Is the president seeing us? Hello. You know the president is a master tactician. He has now diverted everyone into discussing ranks. Meanwhile, Magambo is doing a third job of analyzing information as they discuss his rank. That's how Museveni manages us. Give you a direction and you go also. We shall discuss that rank for a whole week. Then they will promote him to lieutenant colonel. Then we discuss. No one is looking at Magambo's credentials. They are very high. They are very high. The current director general of ISO was a lieutenant forever. Then he became a captain. Well, now he's a colonel, I think so. But if he was in the regular army, probably he would be a major general. That's another matter. So